Okay. All right. Welcome to the professional development LeaderCorps presentation, Finances in Service. I'm Gabby, and I serve with Cherry Health AmeriCorps at Spectrum's Community Medicine Clinic in Grand Rapids, and I run a food pantry. Ernesto, do you want to introduce yourself?
Of course I do. My name is Ernesto Duran. I serve with Advise Michigan. So I am in a high school where I work with mostly the seniors and the juniors as far as post-secondary planning and what they like to do after high school.
All right. Thank you for that. We will get started. Let's see. So we will start with our team. So the team consists of me, Ernesto, Ben, and Tessa, who will be here shortly. We can start with Ernesto's part of the presentation, if you don't mind.
Absolutely not. Yeah, so I will kick it off. I just wanted to basically highlight a few different um, perks, benefits, however you'd like to describe them. Some of these I learned while I was serving, so it's like, oh, not only can this be helpful for the students that I work with, but also just us as AmeriCorps members in general. But if you are working with students in any capacity, I mean, obviously for high schoolers, it'd be more relevant to them. But if you're working with students, some things that I've learned over the past couple of years of service that I've done is that there are so many more opportunities and pathways, smoother pathways, I should say, to get to high school. So I know we're talking about finances, and obviously, if you're working with students that come from low income areas, rural areas, maybe a lot of the students that you work with might be first generation college students. I know college isn't always the first thought, but it definitely is more possible than it ever has been. Specifically because things like the Pell Grant. So the Pell Grant is probably one of the most common, I guess, pieces of financial aid that students can receive. It doesn't have anything to do with grades or um, test scores or anything like that. It's all based on financial need. So it is going up to $7,395 per year for the next, this upcoming school year, which is huge. I mean, that could pretty much be like 3/4 of tuition at any public university, and definitely tuition at a community college. The Michigan Achievement Scholarship, this is new this year. So the value of the Michigan Achievement Scholarship, which also this is need based. So again, if you're working with students who may come from low income areas, first generation college students, rural areas, underrepresented populations, this is all need based as well. And the value of it could be up to $5,500 per year for up to 5 years. That amount varies depending on if you have working with students who might want to go to community college or a public university or private college. The amounts are different. But obviously, as you can see with the Michigan Achievement Scholarship and the Pell Grant, like that could very well help a student make college affordable. And again, that's all need based. And then last but not least is the tuition guarantee. So more and more colleges this year are kind of stepping up to the plate and helping students get, make college a possibility by covering any remaining balance, tuition balance, I should say, that a student may have after all of their aid is applied, like the Pell Grant, like the Achievement Scholarship, the TIP, if you guys are familiar with the tuition incentive program. So even if you're working with students who, after all, if they're awarded this financially and they still have a bill, like we know that bill could very well be the deal breaker in them actually being able to pursue post-secondary education. But a lot of public universities, not all, but more and more are coming out with these tuition guarantees. So I know University of Michigan has the Go Blue guarantee. Oakland University has the Golden Grizzly guarantee, where basically they're saying, after all their financial aid, if they still owe money in tuition, we're just going to go ahead and cover that. So that can definitely be, like I said, a game changer if you're working with students. And I know in their finances, their financial situations, if they're in a underrepresented population, college can still be an option for them. And then if you want to click to the next slide, Gabby. Thanks. Oh, wait, I think you skipped one. Sorry. There we go. If you are an AmeriCorps member and you have students in your household, maybe you're looking to go back to school, or you have kids who are, getting to that age where, they might be approaching college. These are some tips and tricks, best practices that I've, again, learned over my course of service. Is one of them being that you can actually deduct the amount of AmeriCorps income you have on the FAFSA form. So say you are currently a AmeriCorps member and you have a student who is, filling out the FAFSA, and they're your dependent, your income, because it is a stipend, any income you have from AmeriCorps can actually be deducted from your total income on the FAFSA, which I thought was like, huge. And then with the education award, through AmeriCorps, if you are over the age of 55, you can actually transfer that education award to a dependent. And then I provided a link if you have any more, questions about that. But I just saw something that, could definitely be helpful to some AmeriCorps members. And then promise zone. So if you are serving or you live in a promise zone, this could definitely be a huge game changer that you might not have heard about. There are currently 13 promise zones in the state of Michigan. And basically is if your student grew up in a promise zone, and they graduate high school in a promise zone, that could also be help pay for their tuition in college. Which again, if you find yourself in one of those promise zones and you meet the qualifications, basically live and attend school in that promise zone, that district for the entirety, they could receive that as well. And then next slide, Gabby. Sweet, thanks. Oh, back one. Oh, wrong direction. There it is. If you're an AmeriCorps member and you're looking to go back to school, these are a couple of new programs, not relatively new programs that I thought could definitely be helpful. The Michigan Reconnect is obviously huge right now. If you're familiar with the Future for Frontliners, it kind of got consolidated with Michigan Reconnect, which is basically free in-district community college tuition if you're over 25. So maybe, you started school, pre-pandemic, and then for any reason you weren't able to finish. If you meet that criteria and you're looking to go back, that obviously not having to worry about the tuition can definitely help you finish that, degree or certificate that you weren't able to before. Outward Bound and National Outdoor Leadership Schools. This is something that I, have heard about, but didn't really get too much, didn't really know what it was. And then once I found out, I was like, really? Like, this is amazing. So basically, your education award can be used for Outward Bound and National Outdoor Leadership Schools, which are essentially expeditions that you can do. They last from anywhere from a week to a whole year. Some actually grant certifications if you complete the expeditions. But if you're, not looking, to go back to traditional, degree, master's program or anything like graduate level, anything like that, this is another option for using your education award to, learn something new, go somewhere new, and really just kind of, experience something that you might not have thought you were ever going to be able to do. And then last but not least, schools of national service, which I think Ben is going to elaborate on a little bit more. So maybe you can just pass it on right over to Ben.
Sure, yeah. And yeah, Gabby, if you just want to go back in the perfect, perfect. Okay, so as Ernesto just said, um, I'm going to talk a little bit more about the Schools of National Service. It's a super cool program. It's a great partnership that AmeriCorps and some universities in the United States have. So the number one thing that I'm sure you're all wondering right now is, what is a School of National Service? And a School of National Service is pretty much a college or university in the United States that offers specific financial assistance exclusively to AmeriCorps alumni. And I really want to emphasize that exclusively to AmeriCorps alumni, because in order for us, for a university to be a School of National Service, these perks, I guess you could say, this type of financial assistance is only available exclusively to AmeriCorps alumni. And what does that say? I think it's really a point of pride that we can all have in being an AmeriCorps, being an AmeriCorps, knowing that we're going to be AmeriCorps alumni. Is what this says about these universities is that they want AmeriCorps alumni. That they want people who have been through AmeriCorps, and they are willing to specifically partner with AmeriCorps, team up with them, and are willing to essentially pay to have you be their next students. And both Ernesto and I work in kind of the same kind of post-secondary world, and post-secondary education, specifically a graduate degree, is exceptionally expensive. And any way you can, make that be a little bit cheaper than it already is, it's a huge investment in yourself. And this School of National Service program that is out there is a phenomenal way to kind of ease that burden. I know everyone has the Siegel Education Award, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. But this is another way that you can really let that AmeriCorps service work for you after you've left the AmeriCorps program. So next slide, Cami. All right, thank you. So so I'm sure you're thinking, okay, well, what benefits does a School of National Service offer an AmeriCorps alumni? And the most common benefit to an AmeriCorps alumni is financial assistance. Just said, grad school is incredibly expensive, and a lot of these schools of national service will actually either match or match plus exceed the Siegel Education Award. So whatever that Siegel Education Award was, they will usually match it. So imagine, you've done 2 years of AmeriCorps and you have those 2 Siegel Education Awards, double that, and that's what they'll give you. And that is a very nice chunk of money that really makes your, that tuition bill decrease drastically. So that's absolutely awesome. Some other universities will provide opportunities for you to pay tuition at an in-state rate. Like I know Arizona State University is a School of National Service, and if you would like to go to Arizona State University and you live in Michigan or something, you will actually be able to go there with the in-state tuition rate. So that's a cool perk. There are also additional scholarships exclusive to AmeriCorps alumni. We all know there are certain scholarships all over the place, and it can be very confusing to find those scholarships and everything. But there are specific scholarships that these schools of national service can allow you as an AmeriCorps alumni to apply to. So that's more money waiting out there for you. And then also, a lot of them offer just straight up favored admission. If they're able to recognize that you are an AmeriCorps alumni, once again, it's a huge compliment to us as people in AmeriCorps right now and people who will eventually be AmeriCorps alumni. We are wanted by these schools, and they are willing to give us preferred admission, and they are willing to essentially pay to have us go to these schools, which is absolutely awesome. So all that being said, you may have questions then about which schools are schools of national service. That may actually highly, if you are thinking about grad school, that may highly affect your decision as to where you would like to go for grad school. I know it has many other people in the past. So if you are curious about which universities are schools of national service, honestly, you can just go on Google and just look up schools of national service or schools of national service AmeriCorps, and it will pull up a search engine on the AmeriCorps website where you can find every single school that has partnered and has jumped through the hoops to be able to call themselves a school of national service. And then there's also that link on the bottom there that you can type into any web browser. But I think it's an awesome program. I think the fact that AmeriCorps, does have these partnerships with these specific schools is just fantastic. And as I first mentioned before, we're all talking about finances today. And one of the largest expenses everyone is going to, incur in their lifetime is going to either be a home, their car, or education. And it's an investment and it's an expense, but hopefully it's an expense that you can reduce as much as possible. And I think the School of National Service is a really great way to do that.
Thank you, Ben. We're going to move on to Tessa, who's going to present on taxes.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Gabby. Hello, everyone. As Gabby said, my name is Tessa, and we're going to be going over tax documents that you may or may not use when you're doing your taxes. All right, next slide, please. All right, so the first one we're looking at here is a W-2. This is a document given to you by your employer. It has a list of your wages, tips, and other compensation. It's very easy to put into your taxes. If you notice in the little boxes on the top left-hand corner of each box, there is a letter or a number. You will follow that letter or number onto your tax file or tax portion of the W-2s and put in that information. Next slide, please. This is towards the end of your taxes. You will find something having to do with your 1040, and that is your adjusted gross income. This will be found on your 1040 from last year. So the tax documents that you got at the end of the year, when you were done filing your taxes, it'll be listed at number 10, which is down there, and that is your adjusted gross income for the year prior to what you're doing your taxes on. Next slide. Itemized deductions. This is a listed number of things like health insurance, other stuff listed, and it would have a list of itemized things that you did on your taxes. Next slide. All right, a 1095 A, B, and C is a medical form that you will get from your medical insurance. A 1095-8 is something you would input into your taxes, not necessarily a 1095-B or C. A 1095-B or C is something you would show the government if they were to ask you, do you have medical insurance? And you would say yes, and you would show them that. But if you just follow the numbers and letters at the top left-hand corner of your tax of the sheet itself onto your tax form, everything would be good. Next slide, please. All right, so home heating credit is something you can apply for on your taxes. It's an extra way to save money. This would be for the peak months of heating, which is October through December. And it's just another way to save money. Next slide. So a homestead credit is only for renters. You would find that towards in the state return section of your federal tax or your taxes. And that would be, they would ask you questions like how much do you pay for rent? Who is your landlord? What is their address? What is your address? How many months have you lived in your apartment? If your apartment rent changed over the past year, you would add that to that and how long it had changed. All right, next slide. A 1099 miscellaneous is another form of income. It is used to report income such as if you were a landlord, what rent you are receiving, some royalties, pensions, copyrights, patents, awards, attorney fees, etc. Next slide. 1099 retirement is if you are receiving funds from your retirement. It could be benefits and or a pension income. Next slide. 1099 SSA is Social Security benefit statements. If your Social Security was the only income you received throughout the year, that would be what you would put in. You wouldn't put in a W-2 or anything. It would just be your 1099 SSA. Next slide. Non-employee compensation. That would be if you is a form that solely reports non-employees. It is not a replacement for the 1099 miscellaneous. And I did have a question. What if my parents have done my taxes up until now? Where can I get help going through all of these documents and filing my taxes? Great question. There is a number that you can call through VITA or My Free Taxes. If you list that you want, if you click on something saying you want help with your taxes, they will go through individually each and every tax paper that you have, and they will be able to help you through that. Next slide, please. All right, 1099 interest is something that you collect from the government. If your tax returns were delayed and getting back to you for a few months, if you filed late, you would receive interest on that money for an additional money on top of what you get back. And that is it, I believe. Gabby, is there anything else?
Nope, we'll move on to my portion. Thank you, Tessa. So I will be presenting on resources in service. As AmeriCorps service members, you are eligible to receive food assistance. SNAP is the food assistance program in Michigan, and the USDA is who administers the benefit. After your application is approved, you will receive an allotted monthly sum based on your application information. You will receive a bridge card to use at eligible retailers on eligible products, and you must report any changes in eligibility in a timely manner. There is an online portal where you apply, where you can check your application, and where you can check your benefits regularly, as well as an app on your phone called Providers, where you can check your stamps balance at any time. Some of the qualifications are that you can have no more than $3,000 in savings. You have to be a resident of Michigan, 18 and over. You have to report all of your assets honestly, and you need to renew every 6 months. Part of your application will include a letter of exemption of income for your service. Your service director will have this. This letter will state the AmeriCorps Living Allowance is not considered income for determining eligibility for federal or federally assisted programs based on need. You will need to include this in your application, additional documents. You may have a spot in the actual application to upload it, or you will be able to upload it afterwards. You will need to apply at mybridges.michigan.gov, and you will need to be available for your slotted phone interview with your assigned caseworker. You will get all of this in the mail as well as in your online portal. You will need to provide all documents they request, such as pay stubs, savings account statement, exemption letter, and other documents. Double Up Food Bucks is used in tandem with the bridge card. So you can use Double Up Food Bucks when you go to a grocery store or a farmer's market. And how it works is that you can earn $10 in Double Up Food Bucks per day. So if you went and spent $25 at the farmer's market, you would get matched $10 in Double Up Food Bucks tokens per day. So you can go back the next weekend or the next day and also get a matching amount, not to exceed $10. So if you go to a farmer's market, how this works is you walk up to a farmer's market office, you request to take some money off of your EPT card. They will hand you usually wooden bridge card tokens in addition to the silver Double Up Food Bucks tokens. And you can use these on fresh fruits and vegetables. You can use the bridge card for fruits, vegetables, honey, dairy, poultry, frozen foods. You can even use your bridge card to buy fruit-bearing or food-bearing trees or plants. So if you went to a farmer's market, you could use your bridge card to buy a blueberry bush or an apple tree sapling. You can spend and earn at participating grocery stores, co-ops, farmers market, and farm stands. And you can use doubleupfoodbucks.org/locations to look up Double Up Food Bucks vendors near you. In Grand Rapids, we use a lot of family fairs, the Fulton Street Farmers Market. In Traverse City, the Sarah Hardy Farmers Market uses Double Up Food Bucks. And at the grocery store, you will just ask the cashier about their Double Up Food Bucks policy. And next, we're going to talk about Medicaid. So Medicaid is a resource that is also available to us as service members, since our income is not counted as income, being a living allowance. It is a state healthcare benefit available to us members, and you would apply at the same portal, mybridges.michigan.gov. And you will need to speak with your AmeriCorps director to help you apply or to get the proper documents that you will need, similar to applying for food assistance. The purposes of Medicaid, you are only claiming yourself as a dependent. You do not include roommate or family information. You will find eligibility guidelines on mybridges.michigan.gov, and it will be reviewed on a case-by-case basis. So depending on what other assets you have, if you are married, etc., will go into consider whether or not you will get Medicaid. Medicaid, the benefits to using Medicaid are many. You get free or reduced price prescriptions, little to no copay. You get discounts on places like gyms, museums, nature centers. And another one is that through Medicaid and food assistance, you can get your taxes done for free with their app. And if you need help applying for Medicaid, your AmeriCorps director should be able to help you, or you can contact a Cherry Health AmeriCorps member certified in Medicaid application assistance at affordablecare@cherryhealth.com if you email them. I think we would like to open it up to questions now. If you have questions, now is the time to ask. You can unmute yourself or raise your hand.
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
How do you get the paperwork that states that your living allowance does not count as income?
Yeah, so your AmeriCorps director will be able to provide this to you, just like they have the member position description and service agreement. They will have a document that states this for you. It'll have your name on it and your income on it and the exemption notice in it.
Okay, thank you.
Hey, gorgeous. How are you?
Hi, Vance. What's up, Victorious?
Nothing much. Just can you give like a quick, like maybe minute wrap up of what did we miss for the folks that was on the other Zoom link, like that first 10, 15 minutes?
Yeah, so we had Ernesto talk about schools of national service. No, sorry. He talked about Pell Grant and scholarships and FAFSA. We will be able to send this out to you, but Ernesto, if you want to give a little overview.
Yeah, real quick. I'll give you the 2-minute, Vance. Basically,
Thank you. Elevator speech it.
Exactly. So I just wanted to like highlights that, things that I've kind of not experienced, but learned about as I was serving that it isn't always like, on the front page. So I know I basically, and you're probably familiar with these, but if you're working with students who, maybe if you're serving at a site where there are, high schoolers or students, in low income, first generation rural areas, these are some not relatively new programs, besides the Pell, obviously, that have made going to college a lot more affordable, and may even be game changers for students who have maybe not even thought about college because they thought it could be too expensive. So Pell Grant, Michigan Achievement Scholarship, tuition guarantees, these are all like can be super important to look into if you're working with students of that age group. And then if you have students, like if you have kids who are getting ready for college, like Gabby was saying, your AmeriCorps income does not count as income on the FAFSA, so you can just deduct that amount, which can then make you eligible for more financial aid. um, if you're over the age of 55, you can transfer your education award to a dependent, that they could potentially use. And then I was trying to think what the next one was. Yes, promise zone. So yeah, if you're serving in areas, there's 13 promise zones. So even if you're not, if you have kids or students that you know of that you work with in a promise zone, that can definitely be something that you don't always hear about, but can definitely be huge in making college affordable. Because this is finances. Not everyone, especially if you're serving in areas where there is a you know low income, rural population, underrepresented population. It's like you don't always think that college can be attainable, but with things like promise zones, is if you live there and you go to school there and you graduate from there, that can basically pay for all your tuition. And then the last slide was just talking about for us as members, if we're looking to go back to school, looking into schools of national service, if you're not necessarily considering like a graduate degree or graduate programs, Outward Bound and National Outdoor Leadership Schools is another huge um, and fun like way to use the education award, which you can use the education award for Outward Bound and National Outdoor Leadership Schools. And then Michigan Reconnect, which I know you're pretty familiar with that as well. But yeah, hopefully that was a 2-minute version, I think. If
It
not,
was close enough. I appreciate it.
I think she put all of our emails at the end. So call me, beat me if you have any questions.
Gotcha. Thank you.
All right, any more questions?
I did see
Or,
one in the chat. It looks like for Ben.
Let's see, question for Ben. For schools and national service, are there schools that have graduate programs? I was checking the website and it was hard to find them. It seems like most of the schools I clicked on only had undergrad programs.
There should definitely be schools that do have grad programs. That's usually the main target. They might just be a little more difficult to find. I can go ahead and look through that website. I was looking through it yesterday, but usually it's like specific grad schools. Like I can see here, like Rebecca just said, University of Michigan has a couple grad programs usually, and that is something I kind of forgot to mention. Usually it's by program, actually. It's not like, oh, U of M, every single program. Like, for example, I know Tufts University has one for like their political science program, I think it is. So, like, for example, maybe not entirely all of Tufts University, but Tufts University's political science graduate program is considered a program of national service. So it can be a little bit difficult, but yes, there are for graduate school, yes.
You see in the chat, it looks like you can filter the search to bring up grad school programs. And there are a couple other people chiming in about programs. So, and then we have a question from Megan. What if my parents have done my taxes up until now? Where can I get help going through all of these documents and filing my taxes, Elise? Tessa, do you have an answer for that?
Yes, I answered that earlier in my presentation. So, and to tie along,
Try to write some, yeah.
yes, to tie into someone else's question of, is there a name of an app? I am not aware of a name of an app, but there is a website you can go to called myfreetaxes.com. And if you make below $73,000, they will take you to a website called TaxSlayer. And that is a website that can help you, that I'm aware of, that can help you go through each individual tax document that you have and put in all that information. So if your parents have done your taxes up to until now and you're doing them by yourself, I would suggest going through myfreetaxes.com and going through their TaxSlayer. Or if you made above 73,000, then it would take you to some sort of Cash App website that goes through it individually. But I would suggest going through TurboTax for that one. If you made over 73,000. And they do the same thing that TaxSlayer does of going through individual tax forms that you have. And it's actually nice that you don't have to, for TaxSlayer or for TurboTax, you don't have to put in all your W-2 information. It fills it out for you. It does the math for you, so.
That's impressive. Thank you. As to answer about the app, it is called the Providers app, and it is what bridge cards are linked to in Michigan. This is what it looks like. It'll bring up your balance on the home screen. And then right at the top, it'll have little messages about tax filing. It also has discounts, coupons, local jobs and gigs posted, online grocery store shopping. Another thing I wanted to point out was that Amazon will also offer a discount if you have Medicaid. If you need, I think I have a list of places that offer discounts that I can email to everyone. Yeah, I do. So I can email everyone a list of that if you have Medicaid or food assistance already. If you go to foodstampsnow.com, you can get a 2023 updated list of participating organizations that will give free or reduced price memberships and other benefits in Michigan. I'll put that in the chat too. Any other questions? All right, then I think we're all set. I see another chat pop up. What's the app again? It is called Providers. Cool. Okay. Yeah, how about everybody drops their names in the chat so I can write down emails, or their emails in the chat so I can write them down. And thanks for coming, everyone. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you all very much for coming.
Thank you all to my co-presenters.
Thank you, Gabby, for putting this together.
Yeah, thank y'all for putting this together, and a special thank you to all my coaches that came. I appreciate y'all so much.
Yes, thank you to all the members who came today. We know your schedules are busy and we appreciate it.
Yes.
Well, no, thank you guys for putting this together. You're welcome, Vance. This was very informational. And these are things that, I can share with some of my students. The ones that, that are comfortable with, talking about certain things. Because two of my friends actually work, because we're right next door to DHS, our department services here building here. So I have like two of my friends here Well, two of my friends I went to high school and college with, I'm gonna try and get with them and see if they will want to do like a workshop. Just to, so students can kind of know about these different resources. Because I didn't know anything about a lot of these different things. Like in college, because I was trying to figure out how people were getting food stamps in like school. And I was staying at home, but I was like, how are y'all able to like get this? Because eventually if I get out on my own, and I'm not making much or I get roommates. But all I know is it's a lot of different assistants that, especially us as AmeriCorps, because we don't make that much. I mean, they brought it up to 30,000. So I mean, but we're not making
And that's just us, Commander. Not everybody gets what we
Yeah.
get. That's our
Yeah.
program. Mhm.
Yeah, so I'm just like, even that. So I'm like, these things are very important. I think we should have a huge workshop on this towards the end of the year. At our I don't know if they do stuff like this, towards the end of the
That's a
year.
conference,
At
yeah.
the conference, yeah, but all these different resources. I don't think people should be ashamed of that because I mean things are
I'm
going
with you.
up. Things are going up. So I think everybody needs to be aware of all these different services that are being provided. So I appreciate you guys. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Get your
was very
taxes in,
fun.
they're due by next week. Just a
Oh yeah,
reminder.
that is true. Get your taxes done. That's true.
Mhm. Yep, that's true. I was thinking about that. I'm like, oh my God, that's coming up like now.
Yeah, but you have extra time this year. But still, it's due next week.
Oh, that's good to know.
Yeah, because if the 15th falls on a weekend, then you have extra time. So this year it's the 18th.
The 18th. I thought it was the 15th, but I think that was last year.
Yeah.
I am just writing down the emails really quick. But don't